Hamlet City Council. At this time, I'll call the council to order, call the meeting to order.
He's coming.
He's there. Been there a minute. At this time, I'd call Pastor Eddie McLean, King's Church, who will offer our invocation tonight. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, sir. Let's all pray. Father, thank you tonight that you blessed us to stand before our city council and the great city of Hamlet, North Carolina. We thank you tonight for the wisdom and the knowledge and understanding that needs to be made to lead our citizens of this great country, this great city. We thank you for every representative here, Father, that we believe that you give them the mind, God, to be able to make right decisions for this city and for the citizens, Father. We do pray the blessings of the Holy Spirit to be here, that your presence will lead and guide and direct. And Father, help us to do what we need to do, God, to make it a better place to live. And Father, I just pray acceleration upon our city, that there's nothing missing and there's nothing broken. That God, every need is being supplied, Father, because we're making good decisions, we're making right decisions to do the right thing. Bless each and every one that's a part of this meeting tonight, Father, whether it's the leaders or whether it is the citizens. And Lord, tonight I thank you for what you're doing. Continue to bless our town, bless our city, and bless our nation, Father, as we pray over our leadership of our nation tonight, as we do this leadership. Father, bless them, keep them, and lead them, guide them. For it's in Christ's name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Council, you have before you the agenda for tonight. What are your wishes on that?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Item number 4 is approval of the consent agenda. What are your wishes on that, council?
I make a move that we adopt it, approve it.
Second.
Have a second. Any further comments on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Okay. This time we come to the comments. If you have something that's not on the agenda tonight and you wish to bring it up and talk to the council about it, please come forward at this time. There not being anyone at this time, we'll close comment section. Moving along to item number 6, presentation of the American Baseball Program. Chip and Chaz, I believe, are here tonight, who present the baseball programs needed to council. Please come up. We're glad to have you this evening.
How are y'all doing? I'm glad y'all got me out of catching chickens for a little bit, which is a good thing. We selling chickens tonight, so.
Hey, man.
But no, I wanted to first come in and say thank y'all for having us. It's been a pleasure working with y'all up to this point. I will start out with saying that Chaz and I decided last, I guess, maybe about September, we were going to go ahead and submit the bid for the 2023 Legion State Tournament here in Hamlet. Towards the end of October, all the area commissioners came down and met with him and I, and they looked over everything, and we didn't get the bid. They deemed the playing surface not up to state tournament level. So we said, thank you. We'll keep working on getting it better, and we will keep submitting in the future. But I wanted to go ahead and, be the bearer of bad news that
Who got the bid?
we didn't get it. Hold on.
Chip, who got the bid?
Fuquay Arena got the bid. They play out of the Fuquay Arena post, but they don't play in Fuquay Arena. They play in Bowie's Creek. Whatever the local high school is up there, maybe Lillington High School, I'm not sure. So. They play there. That's where the head coach lives at, and he played for the Fuquay Arena post, but they play in Lillington, so or Bowie's Creek or whatever.
They ever play over Campbell?
They do play some games at Campbell. Campbell allows them to rent out their baseball field or in the summer to Legion programs, and Fuquay Arena coach Chris Cook and I actually rented Campbell's Field on, I'd have to look back at my schedule now, but we're actually going to play a game at Campbell University this year against Fuquay.
That'd be good.
But where they play at is the high school in, I don't know what county that is, Harnett County, I think. Harnett County, one of those high schools up there. And that's where the state tournament will be held at, as of now. Unless Fuquay decides to move it to another venue. And that has to be then approved by all the area commissioners as well, but they gave them the bid on their site.
Okay, well, we'll just keep trying.
That's all we can do. And, you know, I talked with Matt, and there's just some things that kind of we went over that we think would help bring Memorial Park to that place where we can get, you know, we don't have to really worry about those situations. In the home dugout, we have one bench. It's about as long as half of that table right there.
No wonder
The
everybody
visitors bench
stands up.
is a full dugout full of benches in there. You know, so we really need some benches in the home dugout. I've looked for the benches that we actually have that are there. They're $800 a piece. But if you know, and then the benches that I put on the thing that I sent Matt, they're actually, I think, $450 a piece. But they're made out of wood. They actually kind of look like the benches that you would see in a high school dugout, college dugout. They have a shelf on the back of them where the players can set their equipment, because when you put 18 pretty big fellas in those smaller dugouts, it gets real tight in there real quick. So most of the time we have them throw all their stuff behind the dugout, only bring in the dugout what they need. But 3 of those benches would span the length of the dugout, giving all the guys in there plenty of room to put their stuff and sit comfortably when they're on the offensive side of the ball, and have plenty of room in there to move around.
Would that one on your side be able to be switched over to the
Oh, well,
visitor side?
It's the exact same that's on the visitor side, but they have benches from wall to wall.
Okay.
I mean, we could put it in there, but, you know, you'd have to make a second row.
Well, it need to be made comfortable, because if you put your equipment, safety of their equipment,
Yeah,
and to move around and sit there. So,
yeah. Last year, we were having them put their bags behind the dugout. The only people that could bring their bags in the dugout were catchers.
oh, man.
Well, how about, did I understand you to say that the visitor side has benches? And we
Yes,
don't?
sir. Yes, sir.
And
The
the home
visitor,
side don't?
no, we have one bench.
I mean, but they have more
Yeah, they have a full span dugout.
at Memorial Park.
Yes, sir.
The visitors.
I think what happened
That don't make any
was,
sense for the visitors.
We're
to
being
have.
polite.
I think
know
what
that,
happened
we
was
should
is
be.
they needed, when baseball
But we
wasn't
should be
being
equal.
used there, I think
Yeah.
they took a section of those benches out and maybe carried them and put them somewhere else.
Okay, all right.
I'm not sure. I don't know if that's what happened or not, but, you know.
They're not there.
You say the
Not
playing
there.
field on it, is that the outfield and the infield?
They were more concerned about the infield. If you own the field at third base, I don't know if you ever watched motorcycle racing. There's
Yeah.
a lip. That's what they call it in baseball. And if you roll the ball, it'll hit that lip and shoot up. You know, we've worked as hard as we can to cut the lips out and outside of the equipment that I have, and you know, I had tractors and tillers and stuff like that. You really have to cut that thing out and then grade it back down and then put new grass back down. It's the only way to really get rid of it and do it the right way. And then over the time, if you're on the infield dirt, when you get to the back going into the outfield, it drops off. I don't know, maybe, what do you say, 4 inches,
Well,
4.5 inches?
that's a lot.
Which, you know, what I tell my guys, they say, well, if it gets past you, it's in the outfield anyways. Don't let it get past you. But, you know, that's not the best thing to say to them. But, you know, I tell them, well, they got to play on it too. So, but that's where they were concerned about was the lips on the front edge of the infield.
And that could be the difference in a ball game too.
It could
Score
be,
a ball game.
yeah.
Big time.
One bad hop can go a long ways and
Yes,
change
it
the
can.
momentum.
Would,
And to address that issue, I met with Mitchell Hodges from Hodges Landscaping, because he has more expertise on fixing stuff like that than I do. And he gave me a quote for it, and he did it in 2 stages. To one that was just to address the issues that needed to be done, and that was to grade out the lips, cut them out, grade them back down where they were flat, resod that area. He said about a 3 to 4 foot area on the inside part of the infield, and fix the area on the back side of the infield. Fix any of the sprinkler heads that are broken, and adjust them to where you have one zone. There's 2 zones on the infield. One zone, he would adjust one to where one zone would just spray the dirt. So before a game, when we're trying to water the infield before the game, we're not out there turning the sprinkler heads. We could just turn that one zone on and it would wet the dirt, and then the other zone would be to irrigate the grass. And he would put a box in the dugout to where we could run the irrigation in the dugout instead of running down the left field line and pulling the manhole cover up and cutting it on by hand. And then fertilizing, liming, spraying for weeds, and then fixing a 100-foot, fixing behind the infield out to 100 foot from behind it, so it would be a gradual slope down instead of a steep drop off. He did that, and let me get back to my front page. That came up to be $9,930. And then he also put in there a second stage to where he would do a year-long treatment on the field, like all through the playing season and through the fall, where he would keep it fertilized, keep it weed treatment, pre-emergence going into the winter for weed control, insecticides for ants and grub worms, and all that good stuff throughout the whole season, where all we would have to focus on was keeping the grass cut. And that was $6,300 for a total cost of $16,270. The year-long field care, I think, that's great. That would be, it has to be fertilized. I think last year I spent maybe $1,600 in fertilizer out of my own pocket, fertilizing it throughout the season so it would stay green and healthy. But I didn't have, I didn't put any of the weed killer down other than at the beginning of the season. And I sure don't know what to put down for fire ants and stuff like that. I think if you put something down, they just move 2 foot over.
Right.
How much did you say you spent?
Total cost of 16,
That I spent last year,
over $1,500.
about $1,500 probably. Back and forth to Lowe's, buying Scott's.
Plus your labor.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question too. You're talking about the field. What about the batting cage that we had down there? Is
It's no longer there.
the frame not there?
No, sir.
That was a nice batting cage.
It was nice at the time, but over time, I guess chain link was the thing to do back in those days, because it was there when I played at Memorial Park, so it was. But over time, that chain link getting hit with baseball
takes a toil.
It was when I was, I guess, coming back home from college and working with Wilbur, it was on its last leg.
Yeah.
But no, the batting cage is not there anymore.
But a batting cage it's beneficial during the season.
It's very beneficial. You could easily have split half your team up while your infielders are working on drills here. You can have your outfielders hitting, so they're not standing around twiddling their thumbs.
What would be I understand about the netting that goes on around the cage. I was just wondering if the frame was there.
No, sir, it's
There's
not
nothing there?
There's nothing there.
That's really
You
irrelevant.
can see where we park in that area now, the pad that they had it made on.
Yeah.
But no, it's not there anymore.
You don't have any place to do any batting practice?
Yes, sir.
bat-
We've got a portable hitting cage.
Yeah.
We raised some money last year and bought it through the Legion team,
Right.
and we use that in practice.
I
we
see.
we hit on the field every day when we do practice, and then before games we take batting practice on the field and we
Well,
roll
I
it
just
out there.
always like the batting cage on it because you get the distance and the pitching machine.
Yeah.
You do have a pitching machine, don't you?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, man. That'll wear you out. I know
Yeah.
the Legion at one time had a couple of pitching machines down there. I don't know, they're probably so old that
Yeah.
they wore out. They did check on it.
I've thrown a many batting practice.
Well,
with.
you're a
I
young
got a
fella.
few more innings left in me.
Yeah, you still got, you're a young
Don't put
fella
me on.
with a
Don't
strong
put me in a
arm.
rocking chair yet.
You still got the strong arm. But I would think that, I don't know the commander this year at there, but they may be able to,
I'll have to check with him.
had a couple of real good,
He told me they
Pitching
had
machine.
no equipment at all left.
they did.
what he
Man, they had one
That's what
high
he told me.
dollar.
He said they have no equipment.
Oh, man.
But in general, I think that investment through Mitchell, that'll pretty much eliminate any future costs that you would really have to put into the infield or actually the playing surface for as long as I can. As long as somebody is still, as long as we're still there, we're going to take care of it, and it won't ever get out of shape again.
Well, I'm sure you will. You wouldn't take
but,
interest, but I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If we go through with this and get this field top graded and get it in that historic Memorial Park,
Yeah.
in my opinion, would it be better for our soccer teams, our youth soccer teams and football team to move to the fairgrounds and play their games down there and leave our field, so put that kind of investment in it?
If you're going to put that kind of investment in it, it wouldn't hurt it. I'll say that it wouldn't hurt it. It would only help it. That I don't think that playing soccer and football is would kill it, but it's going to require more maintenance and love and care than it's been getting.
I see.
If you'll fertilize it and top dress it and overseed it in the fall and the spring, it can withstand it. But without top dressing it and fertilizing it and overseeding it, you're playing two sports on dormant grass and just
Wear and tear.
wearing it out. It's like my mama always told me when we were playing, said, "Can't you make home plate somewhere else?" No, Mama, this place,
Been
my
there.
backyard looked like we had a dead spot for first, a dead spot for second, a dead spot for third, and a dead spot for home.
But I was just thinking the fairgrounds has a great parking area.
Yeah,
It's a
fairgrounds
great field.
would be a
And
great place.
No, the field is not great. It'd be
It's
high
not?
dollar.
It's been what?
It's gonna be high dollar. All the lighting would have to be replaced.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, and the field would need a lot of work because it stays spongy. But I mean, that would be the thing to think about. It costs a lot of money to get it ready.
Oh, the lighting can be outstanding.
How about
I
South
did-
Hamlet?
Huh?
South Hamlet has a park. doesn't it?
Southland's got a good park.
Yeah. And it has lighting too,
And
doesn't it?
I'd love to see,
Fairground?
yeah, the fairgrounds fixed.
Yeah,
don't think we
I
got
would
that kind
too.
of
I
money.
would really like to see it.
Between that and South Hamlet, they gonna be able to play.
But, and then, there's just a couple little whatnot things that we talked about was painting the foul poles. And Chaz and I volunteered to turn yellow, painting the foul poles. If we could get a bucket of paint, we would paint them. We'd sand them down and we'd paint them up, and we'd do all the painting. If we could just get a bucket of yellow paint, we'd take care of that. And then I was talking with Matt. There's an area behind the bleachers. If you're standing on the bleachers looking at the concession stand, it's about right behind where you sit, Eddie.
I know what you're talking about.
There's the asphalt is cracking and breaking up and starting to give way, and it's starting to when it rains, it's starting to wash out up underneath it. Chaz and I said if we could get, and I just put about 20 bags. It could be 10 bags. It could be 5 bags, but I wouldn't think it would be any more than 20 bags of concrete. We would go in there and we'd bust out all that broken asphalt up, backfill it, pack it in, and then we'd pour new concrete right there, so we would never have to worry about that issue.
Well, just out of curiosity, does any of this fall in the city's responsibility to fix it? I mean, you're talking about you doing all the labor. I mean, don't we have city employees that can do that, or?
Well, we feel like that y'all help us out a whole lot. The least we can do is put in some of the.
Well, I agree
the work
with
as well.
your thinking, but I'm just wondering, that'd be kind of difficult job to bust up concrete and pour concrete and.
Get a couple sledgehammers, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Good workout.
I'll jump in and just add that we're happy to help. We've been good partners with Chip.
Yeah.
We are actually already.
Yeah, they got us water in the concession stand. We talked to Matt,
Okay, well, that's good.
maybe last week, and then the next day, he called me and said, we've got the water issue fixed, and
We're happy to help.
Yeah.
You know, wherever Chip wants to help us strike that
Yeah.
balance, we're here.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah,
right.
and
Gonna
I
see
think-
what it would cost to repave it.
I don't know about that. I would think repaving it would be, because, I mean,
What, 100 yards, 300 feet down through there?
I'd have to measure it. I'm terrible at, I'm terrible at measuring, distances. My daddy always asked me, said, how far do you think that is? I said, I don't know. He goes, you think 100 yards? I said, I've shot a deer further than that, so I doubt
I don't
it.
think somebody looked at that anyway.
But, and then, the air conditioning units, are ancient. The one up top in the press box does not work. The guy that does our press box stuff, he would bring a box fan up there with him to help keep himself cool. And then the one in the concession stand. So basically those 2 window units will be beneficial for the press box guy and the guy running the concession stand. I talked with Ramey, Mudd, the guy that did the lights for us last time. We had one bulb burn out last season, and one of the bulbs, the heads that were bad, that the squirrels had ate all, he completely rebuilt the head, and he's gonna come put them up for us. So I'm not sure what putting up 2 lights would cost, or replacing one bulb and putting one head back up. But
Yeah, I think last year we paid
think-
him about $3,000 or $4,000
yeah,
for everything.
Yeah, for everything. He
Yeah.
redid the whole part for like $3,000. So I would think we'd probably be somewhere in maybe a couple $100 for 2 lights or whatever. But and then I think Doc's working on getting a sink to wash the pots in the kitchen in concession stand. So other than that, I think we're moving close to, getting everything we need to get Memorial Park back to where it needs to be at. It's taken, if I could snap my fingers and have it tomorrow, it'd be great. But I think we've had a good partnership working together, and I think these few things right here, if we can tackle these, it won't be nothing for us to, somebody's got to take the submit a bid for the 2024 state tournament. When we decided to go through that, we got together with a bunch of people, and we had people all on board to be on a committee, because that's not Matt saw the paperwork. It's not a little task to put on one of those. I think Fuquay Arena says they're estimating it's going to cost them about $45,000 to host the state tournament this year. But we had a committee of people that were going to go to bat, and we were going to get it and worry about the rest of it later. But with the people we had helping us, I thought we'd have had no problem. But
Don't lose their names.
I still got them in my phone.
Okay, good.
They'll step up to the plate.
Yeah. So, but I think if we can take these next few steps, I don't foresee why we would be turned down in the future.
I have a question too about the American flag out on the flagpole you bring.
Yes, sir.
Can we get it illuminated or is it already?
Should be
I
illuminated.
think it should
we
be.
moved the lights
Yeah.
around it
Gotta
a
be.
couple of years
It's already
ago.
got its own
I think it
It's,
is.
We
Yeah.
got a floodlight off to one side of it.
Off to one side, okay.
When does your season start, Chip?
Our first game is, at this point in time, scheduled for May 29th.
May the 29th.
How
yes,
long
ma'am.
would it take you to complete, what you need to do for this season?
Mitchell told me he could start as soon as he was given the okay to. And I would think it would probably take him a week to get it started or to get finished. The only thing is, if he's gonna cut that out, you would want time for the
That's what I
sod
was
he
gonna-
lays to
It
at
has
least
to
establish a little.
heal.
Yeah,
Right, and take
yes,
root.
ma'am. But, you know,
So basically, if
yeah,
we were to start on this by the middle of March, you'd have 3 months for it to,
yes, ma'am.
okay.
I think everything below the infield renovations, we could do in-house. I mean, I don't think that would be a problem. I mean, I know y'all don't
Yeah.
mind doing it, but I mean, we got the people that could probably do it, and, maybe not the lights, you know, replacing the lights or whatever,
Yeah.
but definitely a hot water heater.
He said Doc had
Yeah, Doc's, Doc's already,
Okay.
the hot water heater and the air conditioning units and stuff, that Doc's already, I just put it on there
Right,
because I knew
yeah.
Doc was handling it, so I,
Yeah.
We actually had to run a whole new water service to the plant. So we've,
Yeah.
or to the concession stand, which is
Put a
done.
meter on it.
There's a meter on it.
I'm just kidding.
But we're prepared to do those
Yeah.
other things
Yeah.
at our discretion here, so.
Gotcha.
I think the big ticket item is the infield
yeah.
and whether or not we're
that's
gonna do
the-
that.
That's the big one, you know, and, you know, I've got on there the turfus and mound clay and stuff like that, but that's, you know, we could probably get by without the mound clay this year, because we did have some left over from last year.
Yeah, I think we spent about 5,000 on,
Yeah, because we
Last
put
year.
a lot of turfus down last year. We
Yeah.
could probably get by without that item on the list. The turfus basically is if you get a pop-up rain shower and you get a really wet spot, it helps dry the field up quick enough to where you don't.
Is that a
Rain hour.
dingable item for the state tournament?
Yes, if to the state tournament, you have to have 45 bags on premise at any time during the state tournament for a pop-up rain shower. But
Which means you got to have more.
yeah, which meaning that you know, we didn't get it this year, so that's an item we could, you know, if we look like if we get too much rain, then you just have to bank
We
it
go
or whatever.
home.
Oh, yeah, go home, come back the next day. You know, that's in an ideal world, that's great to have. We do have some mound clay left, which that's what we do to use to rebuild the batters boxes and the pitchers mounds after every game, so it stays in good shape.
Yeah, that's a well hard used positions to play and
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
keep up.
But, you know, so I think we have enough mound clay that we could possibly, you know, we could get through this season. If we needed to go get a bag or two, it wouldn't be nothing to drive to Aberdeen, throw a couple bags on the back of the truck, come back home.
Yeah, that's a 50-mile round trip. So
Get something to eat while I'm up there.
Pat, in terms of financing the cost of the renovation, the part that's going to be kind of long-term and instead of the turfus and the mound clay, which is obviously can stay, at least
Yeah.
start the season like he is
Yeah.
now. If you're looking at the benches and the infield renovation, you're probably looking at what? $18,000?
are you saying excluding those items or those items specifically? I didn't follow you.
Including that without, the second, he said that he could probably pass on the turfus and the half of,
Right, so
pallet of
that's
mound
about
clay.
3,000.
So if you pull the benches and the infield renovation,
It's about
Oh, I see.
17,800.
About-
I see.
18,000,
18.
where would we finance that from? I mean, what's,
Would it be this fiscal year? Part of
it would be this year,
fiscal
because he's gonna
Yeah.
do it before the season starts.
Yeah,
yeah, I need to get on it ASAP.
where can we find the 18?
It's a good question. I mean, of course, we could allocate fund balance. We do still have some funds from the state capital infrastructure appropriation that we could use. So either of those would be viable.
We got last year.
Yeah. Or the ARP fund is also a pot of money that we still have available to us. So those are the three kind of wells from which we could draw from.
And it wouldn't bring a hardship anywhere on any other.
Well, I think it's just a matter of what's the priority for those.
I think
for
the
those
priority's
funds.
on that historic Memorial Park field.
There wasn't any other issues that, with the area, like hotel rooms and stuff like that?
No,
that
no,
was-
sir.
It was just strictly the
yeah,
field?
it was strictly field. I had Megan Lambeth with the
Tourism.
tourism. She was working the hotel avenue for me. She said that we could get that situated. That wouldn't be an issue. So.
I think that's.
Oh yeah.
Got a what?
The what?
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but also they said that a batting cage for a state tournament because you don't take batting practice before a game.
Well, that's the
on
reason
the
I brought
field,
that up,
yeah.
because I've seen them.
Yeah,
I've seen the batting.
Yeah, I
cage.
didn't think about that part of it, but yeah, I mean, they're,
I was just wondering about the safety net.
they
'Cause there was some.
they didn't have
If you was in the wrong spot, you had to be on your.
they didn't seem too worried about that. They said they could overlook that for now. But they said people just need to be as part of being at a baseball game is what they said.
You
I
think
said, well,
maybe,
Has
they
anybody,
were more worried about player safety, I guess.
Chip, you think maybe the post would help with a batting cage?
It would be something that I'm sure they would be
Very helpful
very,
if they can.
they'd be interested. There's a lot of guys over there now that we're back up and running and, seeing that we weren't just a one-trick pony. They're really excited about,
And I'm
is
sure
there
that
any
it would.
possibility that they could do like a community fundraiser from some of these extraneous items, like a batting cage, the turfist, the extra mound clay, things like that, so that the community gets some buy-in into this?
I'm sure they could. I could talk to them and
I
kind of
just
figure
think
out.
that also increases community interest. It makes people aware of what's going on, and they're not big-ticket items.
Yeah.
Unless the
Yeah.
batting cage is gonna be more expensive than I think it is. But,
Last I checked, they weren't as
the
expensive as
safety
people.
netting,
yeah.
I know is expensive, but,
And maybe-
you're talking about basically a fan over the bleachers, so.
It'd be a very beneficial. And I think all the members at Post 49 and maybe even go on the state level that would help with this. And I'm sure our local posts would jump all over it.
Well, I will.
They're good members.
Yeah, I will talk with them and, put that bug in their ear as well.
Yeah.
Hamlet Lions Club's donated in the past and would be glad to donate again.
so.
Matt or TC, one of the two, could we talk to a local business that's been, on their behalf for like advertising rights and stuff down there, if they would help us out? I mean,
Donations or
They-
sponsorship.
I think Chip's already doing a lot of that.
Yeah, we do a lot of sponsorship and,
the one I was
basically
talking
to
about
help
was
us
the one
fund,
thinking
help
about
us fund the
fireworks.
program, because we don't charge the kids anything to play. We provide transportation to all their away games. We try to provide them at least a little bit of money when we go on the road to eat. So we have to raise a lot of money to run that program the way we do, because when we started it out, we were all about doing it the right way, and getting kids playing the best baseball possible, instead of making them travel up and down the road paying thousands of dollars. So our kids don't pay a thing to play with us.
And the equipment's not cheap either.
No.
The baseballs come out and they get scratched up pretty hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not talking about like
Yeah.
small things like that. I'm
Yes,
talking
sir.
about like to do some of this stuff.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, I would be more than happy if they wanted to donate to the city and for the park and put a sign up on the
I guess
outfield
like
wall
the
for them.
legal aspect
Yeah.
of it.
I
where-
think what you're referring to, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're talking about like more like a sponsorship or naming
sponsorship,
rights of
sponsorship.
a
Ma-
field or a
sponsorship,
scoreboard
but
or
definitely
whatever.
not naming rights. If we ever named it, it's got to be the Wilbur.
Right,
The
right.
Wilbur
But,
Stadium.
but on like a particular
Wilbur.
on a particular item, like if they were to get the batting cage, the XYZ
They
accountant
fix that,
batting
they
cage.
put their, brand across.
That's what I was referring to,
Yeah.
right, but.
I mean, the short answer is you can do that. Local governments do all the time. I think you'd be well served to have a policy in place, just so, you don't get someone who wants some kind of crazy sponsorship, and also it's consistent across the board.
Right.
I've seen communities have to kind of think about how that fits with zoning regulations about signage, but I think for Hamlet, probably just having the policy in place is what you need this
Well, a
time.
lot of times they just place the signs on that back fence that backs up to
Yep.
177, just the big square signs.
That's what I was saying. I think you're already doing that,
Beautiful.
but, we could bring forward a policy.
Yeah, just thinking about that. And I'll just say, we got very little things we got for the community in this town. And that was one that we really had a big outpour. And I mean, I saw some of all of us out there, on this board, and my nephew actually played, and really enjoyed it. And, I would like to see us do what we can do to make it look right, especially if you've got an outside shot of getting something like that, because whenever you have a state tournament of any kind like that, it's gonna put some money in the.
Yeah, it's a
in-
big,
in the-
it's a
in the
big
businesses
ordeal,
around,
yeah.
Yes,
for
it
sure.
does.
Well, I think, my opinion is, we need to either get in it or get out of it. We did this, we got in it in a big way last year, and I think we need to sustain that investment. Otherwise, if we kind of stop now, we might as well have just thrown everything away like next year. And I think if we're gonna do the field prep, we need to go ahead and commit to do it.
I
And
agree
the
with
bench,
that.
I don't think our players ought to be standing up. I thought they were just excited. I didn't know they didn't have nowhere to sit. And so, I think we ought to consider allocating at least 18,000 toward the field, doing this field renovation and to replacing the dugout benches, and we'll scrap the rest of it
That in
off.
the form of a motion?
That's my motion.
Okay.
I second it.
All right, I got a motion and a second for 18,000. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Can I make one,
Yes,
ask
yes,
one question?
certainly.
This 18,000, that does include the air conditioning units and
Yes.
stuff?
Yes.
He said Doc had those.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so,
Yeah.
Everything's
This is
covered.
just the infield and the dugout benches. The infield, you see the infield renovation and the dugout benches?
And the bucket of paint.
how about the paint?
Well, he said they pretty much had those covered.
Not the
Matt said
paint.
they could,
Not the paint.
well,
They said they had it,
18,500.
they said they had it
Sound like I'm
covered.
on Jeopardy.
that they would do the work. They would paint it, but we got to furnish the paint.
Well, I had originally added up the whole thing as $20,000. I'll be happy to bump it to 20.
That's exactly what I was thinking,
Let's just-
Abby. When you
let's
get
just
into
do
it, it's
that.
gonna cost you more. So let's bump it up to 20.
Okay, so we need an
So I mean to amend the motion.
amended.
Amendment to 20,000.
All right,
I'd
what
like
is
to
your-
amend my motion to change the amount from 18 to 20 to cover all items on the
Okay.
list.
And I second
Got
it.
a second from Oscar. Are we okay there, Gail? Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip, for
Thank
all the
y'all.
work
We
that y'all
appreciate what
doing.
you're doing
And
out there.
Yes, sir,
Chaz.
we appreciate it, and,
Sorry the field got that bad.
well,
Thank
over,
you.
over years of not using it, I mean, it's gonna happen.
Football and soccer gonna have to come off of it though, at
Yes.
some point.
Well, we need to find them a place to go.
Sure do.
I'd like to just jump in on the soccer thing real quick. I know that last year, like we're talking about 100 feet off the infield line. I know that we're talking about maintaining and grading and all that stuff. One thing that we did last year, at least in the meantime, just to give you some peace of mind on soccer, we put a fence
Yeah,
line
we-
there.
We roped it off.
Yeah, so it's not gonna, they're not
Yeah.
gonna be on the infield.
Yeah, they weren't on the
Yeah.
infield.
They're way out in the outfield.
But, I
But
think that if you see, if you put down, if you do go into, and you wanna overseed that outfield and, fertilize it in the winter, so the grass out there, they have a grass to play on, the ground won't take as much.
I totally agree. I was just making sure y'all understood that, it's not like we're gonna be putting all this money into it and then tearing it up in the off season.
I've
we're
got
gonna
a
be
question
mindful of
too,
that.
about the fencing there on 177 or Marlboro Avenue on the outside of the sidewalk. That fencing gets grown up, the plants grow up on it, and it go up there. I think there's a better solution than going and putting poison on it. Could we get it cut down or keep it cut down?
They
I think they
did.
did cut it down.
Yeah, those plants are gone.
Those plants are gone.
Okay.
All those crepe myrtles are.
Yeah, it's gone.
Maintain it on that. Okay, good. Thank you. great presentation.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for the great work
anybody
that y'all
wants to go
doing,
help
Chaz. Your
Catch some
dedication.
chickens.
Posted.
We got a
No,
couple
thank you.
houses. We got a couple houses left to go.
That's all right.
Great presentation.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you, Chaz.
At this time, we move along to item number 7, which is the city manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to just add a couple of items for your consideration. First of all, there have been several road closures around town with the railroad. They're moving, they're in and out, they're back and forth, so just be mindful of the closures and the signs and the detour routes that are being posted. We don't have specific dates on those, but they're in the area, and I think they're in the process of moving out, so hopefully they finish Hamlet soon. We have started budget meetings. We had our first council work session in January. Staff has started meeting this week, and just a friendly reminder of our budget work session on March the 28th of March, and we'll pick back up our budget conversations at that meeting. We did regrettably lose one of our volunteer firefighters recently, and I know y'all knew Mr. Greg Swales much better than I did, but I did get a chance to meet him and see him around the fire station, and I was just really like to commend our fire department for their representation and support of his family during that time. And I think our folks did a really good job with that. So I just wanted to extend my gratitude to them and that family for letting us help during that time. So finally, the one item I'd want to mention in conclusion is we recently had an auction of surplus items that kind of accrued over a long amount of time. No one really knew how much that was going to bring in, but that auction closed today, and we were able to raise $115,000 to put money back in our budget and kind of get rid of some of that old stuff that had been piled up. The saying "one man's trash is another man's treasure" is really true, and we were just really grateful to see that kind of response on those items, and
Wouldn't that be a good source for this money we just spent?
it could be, yeah.
Yeah, that seems like the most obvious.
How much was it, man?
115,000.
Where is it gonna allocate to?
Well, we'll have to have that conversation in the budget process. Right now, it's just going to go into the general fund revenues, or some items were specifically enterprise, so they'll go enterprise. We'll split all that up, but I'll give you a more detailed report. It just closed today about where all those revenues land, and we can talk about allocating them in another future meeting.
Wonderful.
Oh, and
That helps with the.
I meant to thank staff for their support through that process. Our executive assistant, Ashley Sly, was on point with that. All the department heads, it was great communication to get access and gather things together and list it properly, and that's what gets you results on the back end, and they put in a lot of hard work in that, so thank them for that. And that's all.
Anybody else got a question for the manager? Where are we on the South Hamlet renovation down there for those
The playground?
Yeah, the
park part of it?
playground.
Yeah, so we have quotes for replacement equipment, roughly about $20,000. We've also ordered some new cameras for that area, so we're moving ahead with that.
Have we appropriated that money?
Not yet. I just sent the quotes out to council via email last Friday, so if you would like to do that, we can, but I wasn't prepared to do it at the meeting unless you'd like to.
What kind of cameras you talking about?
We're expanding our existing camera.
The ones the PDs have?
Yeah, yeah. So it's that system that they invested in is expanded.
But that's going, okay.
Yeah.
I saw the playground equipment. Are we looking at anything with the gates? With, those gates keep getting locked down, knocked down. Have we talked anything about that?
No, we haven't talked about that. I know that some of the fencing on the basketball court side was torn down and the poles were left. We've put that, since I've been here, we put that fence back up twice. So, this time we
McClellan
just
reached out to you? Because I asked him to reach out about any kind of wish lists or
Who's that?
Maurice.
No, I haven't.
So I'll reach back to him.
Yeah. I'll do the same.
If we don't approve this tonight, the 28th of March is gonna be the earliest.
Let me Let me pull up
how long is it gonna take to get started on it?
just got those in late last week, but I'm pulling up the email that I sent to y'all on Friday to get you an exact number on the quote.
I know it's about 20,000.
Um,
Take.
It was 23,455. And that's for the structure, the freight, some supplies, and the installation.
That was a lot of vandalism, wasn't it?
Was that your last Friday?
$23,000.
Yeah, this most recent Friday.
Oh, yeah, see it.
Yeah, so
23, 455.50,
that's right.
and that was for the diagram, right? This one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's
I know you can
there's a
see that.
picture and a schematic. There's
Right.
it's all the same thing. They're just showing you different angles of it, I believe.
Yeah.
Playground quote.
Where's this money coming from?
Well, right now I mean we could put forward a budget amendment, but
Just got 115,000.
yeah, we also I mean last year before the end of the fiscal year, we did get some insurance payment to replace this. So there was money that went back
Just a question, yeah.
into the general fund for this.
How much?
I'd have to go back and look at the settlement.
Rough idea.
I think it was like 18,000.
When you,
I'm close to paying for the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was
We need
done
to
at
do it.
value.
I mean, I agree with the
Okay,
mayor.
yeah, I would
We do it now.
entertain a motion for 23,455.50.
Yes, I'm all for it.
Have a
We want to
motion?
make a motion. to-
second,
A whole bunch of seconds. Pick one.
Let's
Yeah.
get it done.
I've got a question about it, about replacing it. Would it be possible to add some more, equipment down there, some new equipment, but just make it larger? I'm talking about South Hamlet.
We don't have any equipment down there.
I mean, playground equipment, when
What we're talking
we
about.
put it down there, yeah.
Did you
Could
see the
put more-
pictures?
Put more, pieces of,
Did you look
Did
at
you see the pictures he sent?
huh?
Did you see the pictures he
It's
sent?
gonna be full.
It's gonna
Gonna
be,
be full?
Yes.
It's not a very big area.
I haven't seen the pictures done.
Picnic tables and stuff already
All
in
right,
there.
great, okay.
Shelter.
Let's go ahead and take, all right, I got a motion and I got a second for the.
what about the cameras?
The cameras are already
That's already
in
set.
process.
That's a wash. That's
That's,
police wash.
okay, all right.
But we got enough now, we can move them down there if we need to.
Yeah.
And us doing this tonight, will it be in place for the spring, summer for the kids?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would hope so, yeah.
That's where I was.
I mean, I haven't asked that question specifically, but I know that the vendor that Maurice got these quotes from was eager to move forward with the project. So
I was trying to see if it gave you.
I can
And-
report back on a more specific timeline once we,
Well, that's what I said earlier. We need to get this in place before the spring.
Right.
The children start playing outdoors.
right.
Said that last month.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Okay. We need to encourage the residents down there to be a little more vigilant, not just in that playground, but that whole area down there. Maybe, I don't know if the police department's been working on a community watch but, people see stuff and, so that would be a big help.
They're working on it.
All right, did you have anything else? Okay. We'll move along to comments of council. Mr. Martin?
Nothing other than just to reiterate what the city manager said about former firefighter Greg Swales and the great job our city fire department done pertaining to his service. Other than that, that's all I have.
Mr. Sellers?
I'd like to, I've seen our city sweeper machine out sweeping our streets in different neighborhoods, and I'm real proud of that. Got a lot of feedback from it, people coming and they're glad to see it out and about. And I'd also like to thank all of our city employees and for the great job they're doing for our hamlet. And I'd like to thank Chip Gordon especially for coming down here and putting on a great presentation of our American Legion program. We have a lot of Legionnaires in Hamlet and veterans, and I appreciate them taking the effort to keep that historic park beautiful. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Sellers. Mr. Stewart?
As always, I always like to thank the citizens. Thank you all for coming out to the meetings. We want to have these seats filled, not just if something special is going on, but always thanking the citizens. And also celebrating Black History Month. I just want to thank all the people the shoulders that I'm standing on for allowing me to sit at this table and be on the panel. thank my colleagues. There's always been equal access across the board. We're always striving for equity, and I've never had a problem on this board, and I thank you all colleagues for that. But just thank you all for this county and the people that's serving it, and continue to come out to the meetings. I always want to support the constituents and do everything that we can do.
That all, sir? Okay, thank you, Mr. Stewart. Ms. Covington?
Well, I don't really have anything except that, once again, the city employees saved us a major headache this morning. And it just, the wonder of living in a small town. We had a major water leak at the soup kitchen. We had water actually coming out of the second floor wall, spilling onto the sidewalk like a waterfall at 6:45 this morning. And and the beauty of the small town is that you call the people with the water company and they answer. Or send them a text, say, I've got an emergency. They text you back and you tell them what the problem is. They cut the water off immediately so it minimizes the damage. And it's just, those are the kinds of things that make us know really how fortunate we are in this community to have people that just pitch in and do what's necessary. And I think, this was shown when Chip stood there and said, Doc's got this taken care of, we've got this taken care of. This interrelationship between our city government, the people that work in this building and the building behind us, our administration, our police department, fire department, through all of these services for people that have died in our community, Charlie Utter and now Greg Swales, and they represent us very, very professionally and make us all very proud, but they all pitch in and do the same type of a job, which is make this community a better place to live, and I think they all do a huge debt of gratitude, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Covington. Mr. McQueen?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Where do we stand with the house that we're in court with now, the demolition?
I'm going to provide an update for this section. I can provide it now. It's done confidential. We were supposed to have a hearing on it yesterday, and that had gotten moved at the request of Mr. Edens, the homeowner, from December to today. My law partner, Brady Herman, showed up in court and was ready to argue our motion, which is basically just to move it along. And the judge was about ready to let him say his piece. And I wasn't there, but I gathered the trial court administrator, literally as the judge was going through her process, read an email from Mr. Edens indicating that his uncle, Edwin Edens, was in the hospital. And they actually called the hospital, and they confirmed that he had just been discharged. And so the judge said, I'm sorry, Mr. Herman, it's out of my hands. We're going to have to continue this to March. So we've been ready to go now for many months, and through no fault of the city's, we are going to be able to hopefully report back in March.
Is there anything we can do to speed up all these appeals and stuff? I mean, I know it's different than criminal court.
There's really not. I mean, the court has discretion to continue it, and I understand that they are providing a little bit more leeway because the Edens family does not have an attorney. They're representing themselves pro se, but the one thing the judge did say is that this is the last time and that it's going to be heard in March, period. So I'm sorry I don't have better news, but that's where it is.
That's the Pine Street location, right?
Yes, sir.
I know some of the folks have been coming ever since this started, and it just seems like it's a never-ending process.
Well,
with this
and
thing.
I got to tell you that.
No offense, I mean,
No. I was
intended
going
at all, it's just the system is flawed.
I was going to say exactly that, though, that Brady and I were kind of talking about our strategy on Friday, and that's exactly what we discussed, is that the judge needs to understand how long this has been going on and how much process has been given, and that this isn't just sort of a abstract thing where the city's trying to pick on somebody, but a chimney fell in on someone's driveway. And, I mean, it's a serious issue. And he didn't even really get an opportunity to say that, so that's where we are.
Well, at least it sounds like there's an end there.
Yes, sir. It sounds like March is going to be that end.
That's good to know.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have something for y'all sometime in March. The next thing I had, so a guy reached out to me about a water bill. I talked to Matt about it briefly during the time between the cold snap and now. And it changed a little bit from what we talked about. So he had a water leak. He's got county water. He had a water leak, and his sewer bill was an outrageous amount because of a leak. And it occurred in the middle of a cycle. So according to what according to the way the policy's written now, according to what he told me and what I learned from Matt, that if it would have been at the beginning of the cycle and went through in that same cycle, the whole thing could have been adjusted, but because it was in the middle of a cycle, it could only be adjusted for the part ending, and correct me if
You
I'm
gotta
getting
pick
it.
one, basically.
If I'm getting, you gotta pick.
You get one adjustment.
Yeah, you get one adjustment, but my thing is, it's,
It was in two cycles.
it's the same incident, and I just think we need to look at the wording of that policy and the intent of that policy. I don't think anybody intended for one incident to have to choose which one you want to get adjusted. I think one of them was like $400 and something, and the other one was like $150.
You said he was on county water?
Yeah, this is just a sewer, so we didn't even lose the water, it's just, the sewer's built on what water's coming out.
And we have the sewer, the county has the water. It's probably, apparently it's East Rockettsville.
I'm not 100%
Yeah.
sure. I didn't
But,
ask.
So
anyway,
the
we,
sewer bill was $400?
Right, for one bill, and then the next bill, because the leak entered into the new billing cycle, it screwed it up.
Well, I agree with, Jesse, it ought to be rolled into one,
But,
not
but
two.
in all
One incident.
fairness and due diligence on talking to him, and he was forthcoming, he had a separate issue in September and got an adjustment in September. So this adjustment in September precluded him from having any recourse in this one. So, I mean, it's two separate things. I just don't think the intent of the city of Hamlet's policy should be
To punish
if somebody's leak extends into the next month, if it's the same incident, I just don't see where anybody that, with any reasonableness about it, would not understand that that would not be something that we need to at least consider.
How many adjustments did we give a year?
I don't have that information on hand.
It's one
It's
adjustment.
one
Oh,
adjustment.
I thought you meant like
So he
on
got
the
an
utility,
adjust-
sorry.
You're saying he got an adjustment
He got
in
an,
September?
he got an adjustment in September and found out that whenever he came to tell him about this one, that they said they couldn't adjust either of them. To begin with, he thought they were gonna be able to adjust the bigger one, but he had an adjustment in September, so it just threw him out completely. So that's what I'm saying, it turned in from what was a simple thing, as, in my opinion, as far as that one incident I think we should cover one incident, but then it goes into the fact that
This is his second
it's his second adjustment, so it's sort of two issues there. I just don't think that we want to say one incident, it's got, in other words,
Well, he couldn't have gotten it anyhow, because he'd already had one adjustment.
right, that's what I'm saying, that's why it's two separate things, but I still think
So
we need
his
to.
adjustment in September would have precluded him
It
getting
would
an
have,
adjustment at
exactly
all.
right, which is why I said there's two things involved with this. So it may not help him, it may not affect him, but moving forward, if that ever happens again, is what I'm looking at. Do we really want to tell somebody that they're gonna have to pay, $600, $700 because they were unfortunate enough to have their leak occur during the one billing cycle, it extended into the two billing cycles.
Well, I think it ought to be on one billing cycle.
Right, I mean, that's how I feel about it.
What
Am I
was-
making myself?
What was the reason for was it,
It was the cold snap.
so he had what about the issue in September?
Did it happen twice?
He had something at the meter then. I don't think that was a big,
I mean, but was,
it's two separate things. There was a crack at the meter in September, and he didn't know, and it ultimately busted. And it was one of the electric meters that the county's got, so, I mean, can't blame the old meters.
Twice in the same billing cycle.
No.
He said,
September's totally separate.
Yeah,
That's totally separate. The
He did
system
get
worked just like it was supposed to work. He got his adjustment. Moving into the cold snap in the middle of what was going on here, he had an adjustment that he had a leak, and the adjustment.
ma'am, have a seat. Ma'am,
I'm going director up here.
I'm the mayor, okay? We'll get to you in a minute.
Just hang tight, Rachel. So when he had this second leak, it occurred in a split cycle.
well, I understand what you're talking about, but I'm
Right.
just saying, the policy would have precluded any consideration at all on the second leak.
Totally understand. But what I'm saying is so if it was to happen again, not with him,
Yeah,
but like if it happened at anybody's house and it went from half of
The two cycles.
from half of May to half of June, why would we not want to help?
would it not be better to adjust in the second half, this first half of the second occurrence, and that would take care of part of the,
It's two bills.
You're still, I think, I could answer the question, but I think the point that Mr. McQueen is making is like, you're still having to pick
Right.
one.
right.
In other words, I'm thinking maybe, just my simple mind, just thinking about it, could we change the verbiage of the policy to one adjustment per incident, or one incident, instead of having to split? You know, does that make any sense? Right.
There's bound
Because-
to be a word for it.
I mean, if that cold spell would have come through and it would have busted during that one bill, we would have had his one adjustment. If he hadn't already had an adjustment,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. That's all I'm saying. I just think
We'll make a motion.
I mean, I want to get y'all's opinion, what y'all think first.
Well,
I mean,
I think it's a policy change.
I think it's fair.
Basically,
No,
what
it's
we'll have to
policy
look
change.
at is changing the.
Right.
I think if I could help maybe translate or distill what we can do to move this forward is, it sounds like there's some general consensus about focusing on the incident rather than the billing cycle.
There you go, that's what I'm saying.
And so what I'll do is I'll bring some policy revisions, because our policy's pretty short. We'll just kind of retool the policy to be more incident focused, and or to just delegate some authority to the manager to make those discretionary calls, probably a both situation, if that's appropriate legally.
That sound, all right, TC?
And then we'll bring that back, and if there is consent for it, we'll probably just place it on the consent agenda, and you can, unless you
I like the idea
choose.
of having the city manager have discretion on something like that.
Yeah.
I actually thought you did. On something
Yeah,
like that, I mean,
there are actually some conflicting policies, because in the ordinance, there is some discretion, but in the policy, it's pretty specific, so it's just
Right.
conflicting policy.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I think that would save a lot of aggravation, a lot of.
Well, because freaky things are gonna happen.
Right,
Yeah.
and I mean, really,
think
how often is it gonna happen? But it could happen, and it could cost somebody on a,
Well,
Fixed income,
obviously, it was a
$700.
long-term problem.
And in my opinion and experience, I think the incident focus is a key, because when you're focused on the timeline, I mean, I know this is unlikely, but you know, what if it went 3 months, right? If 3 months bills were high, it's like, and then we're like, okay, well, it's 2, well, should it be 3? I think focusing on the incident, and we're already requiring documentation for the incident, is the way to go. So I'll retool that policy and bring it back for your consideration.
and in his defense, when he found out about how, you know, how much it was like he got that one bill, and then there was another bill coming in, so. But it didn't help him, because he had an adjustment, you know, before, so. And just for TC real quick, what's the law on the remote meetings? Like, if we have a meeting and a council member's not here.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't come to the, budget meeting the last time, and
Yeah.
I know like years back, before COVID,
Yep.
we were doing some of that, and then now
Yep.
it just seemed like whenever I put in the request to do it, just out of the blue, well, you can't be counted present and you can't vote.
Yeah, that's,
So I'm
I
just wondering where we stand with that, and,
appreciate the opportunity to unpack that, because it's
Right,
not
'cause
as
it
clear
is
as we'd
tricky.
like. So there's still a little bit of ambiguity about how advisory boards work and what they can do, but the law, I think, at this point for city councils is pretty clear. So before the pandemic, there was no state law, and the position I always took is the council could set its own policy. You know, you could say no remote or all remote, you kind of wherever you want. With the pandemic, the legislature, and I think it's a good law that they passed, there's some things probably need to be ironed out, but what it basically said is you can do remote meetings when there is a declared state of emergency. And a remote meeting is a specific thing. It is when one or more elected official is participating remotely. So suppose y'all are all here, but you have someone, you know, Zoom in to do a presentation. Well, that's still an in-person meeting. Citizens could come to the council chambers. But if you're participating remotely, or anybody, now under the statute, it's technically a remote meeting if everybody else is here. So if you had been, for that budget meeting, participating and voting, you're now doing a remote meeting. The issue is, and this is what's caught in our municipalities, is the authority for that remote meeting is limited to when there's a declared state of emergency. And every municipality in the state was operating under the declaration that the governor had issued relating to the pandemic, and that was lifted whenever last year. And so there isn't that authority now. So that's why we kind of struck the line of, we know you want to be part of the meeting and have input, but we felt like you couldn't take any action, because that'd be making a remote meeting.
Right, okay.
So that,
So basically what we did, like years past, was wrong.
no, I think it was fine, because there wasn't a law for it.
Oh, okay.
There was no law, and so.
that pandemic law to allow the remote meetings in a
Yes.
time, okay, that's, I
And-
just
and-
wanted a little clarity.
Yeah, and the catch on it is, you can now do a remote meeting, but it must be pursuant to a declared state of emergency. So
Right.
if there's
And
no,
when did the state of emergency end?
I can't remember, sometime last year.
I think it was August.
Because we've had remote meetings before I asked.
Don't go there.
Well, so we had remote meetings,
I mean, I want
Yeah, we did.
we had remote meetings before the
State of
state of emergency was lifted. And then before the legislature passed a law, we had remote meetings. And understand too, I mean, I think it's not just a COVID declaration. You know, suppose there were some kind of natural disaster in Hamlet and the mayor issued a declaration of emergency. You could probably do a remote meeting then too. But that specific one the governor issued that applied to the whole state was everybody was operating
Okay,
under.
I just
Yep.
wanted a little clarity on that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
The next thing is, congratulations, good job, however you want to put it, to the police department for, some of the changes that I've noticed up around Washington Avenue and in that area. The signs have worked, and the parking, no parking. Hopefully the residents up there has felt a little bit of that. I know the police department has focused on that area through the actions of the council to try to stem what was going on up there, and hopefully that's even working, better than what they could have expected or whatever. And I got a few just today. I just want to congratulate, our former, town manager, Jonathan Blanton. He's now the Ranlow town manager. He was just awarded the Excellence in Government Leadership Award through the Central Regional Council of Governments.
Oh, cool.
Since his time there in 2020, he secured over $10 million in federal grants for that area, and he's really, he did a good job here, he's doing a good job there, and I think, it wouldn't be a bad thing just to congratulate him. He was here at a time where we needed to get some stuff going, and now we got Matt here, and he's moving forward too, but I just wanted to congratulate him on that. He's really worked hard. Major Chitwood with the police department, he had the opportunity to go to UNC Pembroke. Last week, he spoke with the Criminal Justice Club there, and in the process of his speech and his presentation, he showed the students a good form in dusting for latent fingerprints. He put on a tremendous demonstration and had some interest from some of the students there for employment and all. So I would like to thank the police department for allowing that to go on. And then last but certainly not least, I just want to just send my condolences to the family of Greg Swells. He was a full-time fireman here for a while. He was a full-time public works employee for a while, a volunteer at this department 2 times and at East Rockingham 1 time. A great asset to the city of Hamlet, a great asset to the fire department, and personally, just one of the best neighbors a person could ever have. I mean, I'm gonna miss my buddy. Thankful to have known him and thankful for his service here to the town. And I just like to send my condolences to that Swells family during this time. And that's it. That's all I got.
This is a little bit out of the ordinary for this meeting, but we were having a discussion about the water. And I believe there's a lady here that had some comments. If you would come up and state your name.
My name is Rachel Tillman. I'm a resident here in Hamlet. I live on Charlotte Street. And I live on the low end of Charlotte Street. And down on the low end, they call that the swamp. I've been to the city dump trying to get them to do some work, like some sand or something, so I can have a driveway. I can't even get in my yard, out the park side the road, and cars hitting my car, and where they put some rocks down there. And the rocks, because the mailman to fall, everybody to fall, big old rocks. I said, oh my God. And so I went down there yesterday. And yesterday he told me, he said, come to the meeting up here to see about what you all can do.
Is that down there near the backside of Food Line?
Correct.
Is it all the way down in that bottom, or is it still coming down the hill?
Not that far.
Oh, okay, so you're. Are we making any effort to see what we can do down there? I don't know what situation.
My understanding is that the request was made some months ago when Billy was still here
Yeah.
to bring rock in. And I think there was some discussion about the type of rock and what it would do to actually solve the problem, but it would also cause some other problems, which it sounds like is what you're experiencing. And since then, and you referenced yesterday, you went, I think you spoke with Robert, who's now our interim public works director, about possible solutions. And I don't know, aside from, I haven't looked at it, so I can't speak on it, but I know that she's spoken with Robert, and I know that we'll do what we can to help. I do want to just make sure that we understand that the driveway itself, as it relates to the road, like if we were doing construction or something, and we did some construction there periodically over the years, if we tore something up, we would put it back. But on the long term, it is the property owner's responsibility to maintain their driveway and their connection to the right-of-way.
And my question was, are we contributing to the situation, or is it a property owner?
All I know about it is what we've heard tonight, and what Robert told me this morning, which was the brief bit of history that I think I just expounded on there.
We'll look into it if you would and see
Yeah,
what
sure.
we can do to help you.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.
What's your house number, Miss Tillman?
635.
635.
Miss Rachel, where do you see the water coming from? Do you see it coming from the street? Do you have like a raised thing of asphalt in front of your house?
I'm not worried about the water part. I'm worried about getting in my driveway and get off the road because I'm stopping cars, I'm blocking cars, I'm getting hit.
But it's because of the water though, right?
No. We don't have a driveway. We don't have no way to get in and get out because you all put a big hump there in there years back. I've been here 66
Speed
years.
bump.
Big old hump
Are you talking about on the side of the road or in the middle?
Speed, that's gone.
on the side.
Right, yeah.
It's
What we
It's
did
further
was,
down.
it's a
They
curb.
blocked it
That's
up.
what I was
Down low.
asking
That's
was
what-
the,
it's a
yeah,
curbing on the side of
so
Charlotte.
the curbing is in front of your house.
No, sir.
What's your address? I'm gonna go by there.
I know I am too,
635.
635 Charlotte.
635.
635.
I'll be on the left side.
Left-hand side, headed toward Food Line.
I'll show you exactly where it is.
Okay, we'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
I think, gentlemen, would you, sir?
Did you want to come up here?
Better watch out, Pee Wee. I seen this go bad.
As you were saying, the driveway is messed up. When we go, try to get down in the driveway, seems like it's tearing the bottom of our car out.
Are you getting stuck?
And that's why she wanted to get it fixed.
Okay.
You gonna be home tomorrow?
See what we can
I'm,
figure out.
I'm aware of that work that's gone down. Looks like construction have gone down there and cleaned out the property, cut down trees and on that, and did some grading, and it created the hill that you're talking about. And when you come by there, I know on the east side there's sidewalks there. I don't remember. Do you have sidewalks there? You don't have a sidewalk. But if you try to come down off the street, then that's where you drag it to get down and park. The whole bottom of the car hits it. I can see it's a tremendous steep drop, but I don't know if the city is responsible for that or the construction or the grading company that did the work. The people that went and cut down the trees and did the landscaping really made a mess out of it. I'm aware of what you see, of what you're saying about.
We'll look at it.
But we'll look at it and see what we can do to help.
Thank you. Okay, I really don't have a whole lot to say tonight. Again, our sympathies to the Swales family. That was totally unexpected. And I appreciate the work that the city crews are doing. The city crews, that they keep the city going. And we appreciate Doc Sylvain. Doc goes along and does his job, and always seems, to us, he seems like he's happy about it. I don't know, sometimes I would be, but anyway, we do appreciate that. And that would be all that I have at this time. I would ask for a motion to go into closed session per General Statute 143, 318, 11A, 6, personnel. For what?
Attorney-client privilege.
Okay, and attorney-client privilege. I'll add that to that.
I make a motion, we go into closed session.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Okay. We'll stand in closed session.